Zara, the black maid, is on her knees, rice cutting into her skin when her employer, Haniel, finally comes home after 3 months away. His fiancée, Ming Ling, is hysterical. She's a thief. Arrest her now. Haniel looks at Zara. Did you steal from this house? She could lie, save her job, avoid prison. Instead, she meets his eyes. I took food. Yes, Ming screams triumphantly. See? Call the police. But Zara keeps talking. I wasn't hungry. Dead silence. He goes still. Then who was? Zara glances at Ming, the woman who's tortured her for 3 months, and whispers, Your mother. Check the basement. Ming's face goes white. Ever been in a situation where staying quiet means someone suffers? What if the truth is so much worse than anyone imagined? Would you risk everything to speak up, even knowing it might destroy you? Zara's knees pressed into uncooked rice, scattered across the cold floor, her dark hands trembling as she scrubbed the already spotless tiles. Sweat rolled down Zara's temples despite the mansion's air conditioning, and she didn't dare look up when she heard the front door open. You're finally back. The shrill voice of Mingling cut through the silence like glass breaking. Do you see this? Do you see what I've had to deal with while you were gone? Zara's heart dropped to her stomach. 3 months. He'd been away for 3 whole months, and now Haniel was home. Haniel's footsteps echoed across the marble as he stepped inside, not his expression unreadable. He was tall, shoulders broad beneath his dark jacket and his eyes. Those eyes swept over the scene with the kind of coldness that made grown men confess to crimes they didn't commit. What's going on here? His voice was low, controlled. Ming practically threw herself at him, her perfectly manicured hands clutching his arm. This thief has been stealing from us. Food, Haniel. She's been taking food from our kitchen, sneaking around at night like some kind of rat. So Zara's jaw clenched, but she kept scrubbing. The rice dug into her knees like tiny knives. I caught her red-handed just last week, Ming continued, her voice dripping with manufactured distress. Multiple times she denied it, of course, but the evidence doesn't lie. I've been making her do proper penance until you return to handle this situation. Haniel's gaze shifted to Zara. She could feel the weight of it, even though she refused to meet his eyes. Look at me. 2 words. That's all it took for her spine to straighten involuntarily. Zara slowly lifted her head, meeting his stare with as much dignity as she could gather while kneeling in rice. Her dark skin glistened with perspiration, and there were shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there 3 months ago. She looked exhausted, defeated almost. But her chin lifted just slightly, defiant. Did you steal from this house? Haniel asked. Ming scoffed before Zara could answer. Of course she'll deny it. I'm not asking you. His voice dropped several degrees, and Ming's mouth snapped shut. Zara's throat felt dry. I took food. Yes. See? Ming's voice rose triumphantly. She admits it. I want her arrested, Haniel. She's been... Let her finish. He hadn't taken his eyes off Zara. But I didn't steal it, Zara continued, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. I had a reason. A good reason? Ming laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. What possible reason could justify theft? Yet you're being paid to work here, aren't you? If you were hungry, you could have asked. I wasn't hungry. The words hung in the air. Haniel's eyes narrowed slightly. Then who was? Something flickered across Zara's face. Pain, maybe, or fear. She glanced at Ming, then back at Haniel, and he saw her make a decision. I can't say. Not with her here. Ming's face flushed red. How dare you? Enough? Haniel held up one hand, and silence fell immediately. He studied Zara for a long moment, his mind working through possibilities. When he'd left 3 months ago, his mother had been recovering in the hospital from pneumonia. He'd arranged for the best care, left detailed instructions. She was supposed to be released after 2 weeks and brought back home. Where's my mother? The question seemed to suck all the air from the room. Ming's expression shifted, just barely. She's resting, darling. The doctor said she needed more time. I asked where she is, not what the doctor said. In her room? Of course. Where else would she be? Haniel turned to Zara. The maid's eyes had gone wide, and she was shaking her head almost imperceptibly. Is my mother in her room? He asked Zara directly. Tears welled up in her eyes. Please, just check the cameras. Check the cameras from the past 3 months and you'll understand everything. The cameras? Ming laughed again, but it sounded forced now. There's nothing on those cameras except this girl sneaking around stealing. Oh, then you won't mind if I review the footage. It wasn't a question. Haniel walked past both women, heading toward his office where the security system was monitored. Ming hurried after him, her heels clicking frantically. Darling, really? This is such a waste of time. You just got back. You must be exhausted. He ignored her, pushing open his office door and moving to the computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the security footage database. Our 3 months of recordings organized by date and camera location. Start with the kitchen. Zara's voice came from the doorway. She'd gotten up from the rice, her knees red and marked. 2 weeks after you left. Midnight. Ming positioned herself beside Haniel, her hand on his shoulder. This is ridiculous. He pulled up the footage. Kitchen camera, 2 weeks after his departure, midnight. The screen showed darkness at first. Then a small figure entered frame. Zara, moving quietly through the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator, pulled out containers of food, rice, soup, side dishes. She arranged them carefully on a tray, added chopsticks, a napkin. You see, Ming's voice was sharp. Stealing, just like I said. Keep watching, Zara whispered. On the screen, Zara picked up the tray and left the kitchen. Haniel switched cameras, following her path through the house. She moved through the hallways, past the main rooms, toward the basement door. Haniel's blood went cold. Why is she going to the basement? His voice was dangerously quiet. Ming's hand tightened on his shoulder. Aye, the basement. That's where I told her to store some old... Be quiet. He watched as Zara unlocked the basement door, which had been locked, and descended the stairs. He switched to the basement camera, and what he saw made his entire world tilt sideways. His mother. His mother was down there, lying on a thin mat in the corner of the unfinished basement. She looked frail, or so much thinner than when he'd left. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes rumpled, and Zara was kneeling beside her, helping her sit up, feeding her soup with gentle, patient movements. What? The word came out strangled. He fast-forwarded. Same scene, different nights. Zara bringing food, water, blankets, helping his mother to a makeshift bathroom area, washing her face with a damp cloth, sitting with her, holding her hand. He switched to daytime footage. Ming entering the basement, arguing with his mother, screaming at her, his mother crying, begging. Ming leaving her there in the dark. The mouse slipped from Haniel's grip. He turned slowly to face his fiancé, and the look on his face would have made lesser people run. Tell me I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. Ming's face had gone pale. Haniel, I can explain. You locked my mother in the basement. His voice rose with each word, fury radiating off him in waves. You told me she was still in the hospital. You lied to me for 3 months while you kept her prisoner in my own house. She was saying terrible things about me. Ming's composure cracked. Trying to turn you against me. Saying I wasn't good enough for you. That I was only after your money. So you imprisoned her. My mother, who raised me, who survived poverty and abuse and worked 3 jobs to keep me alive. You put her in a basement like an animal. I was going to let her out eventually. I just needed time to make her understand. Haniel stood up so abruptly his chair crashed backward. Get out of my house. What? Get out. He was shaking now, hands clenched into fists at his sides. Get out before I forget every principle my mother taught me about treating people with dignity. Ming's eyes darted between him and Zara. You're choosing her over me? Some maid. I'm choosing my mother over a monster. His voice dropped to something lethal. And you're lucky I'm choosing the law over handling this myself. He pulled out his phone, dialing. Yes, I need officers at my address. I'm reporting a kidnapping and imprisonment. No, the victim is still here. She's alive, but she needs medical attention immediately. Ming backed toward the door. Haniel, please, we can work this out. The engagement is over. Whatever you brought into this house, you have 10 minutes to pack. After that, anything remaining becomes evidence. You'll regret this. Her voice turned venomous. You'll regret choosing some nobody from nowhere over me. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were sooner. 9 minutes now. She fled. Haniel turned to Zara, who stood quietly near the wall. Her eyes were red but dry now, watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Take me to her, he said softly. Please. Zara led him through the house to the basement door. Her hands shook as she worked the lock. Ming had given her a key weeks ago with strict instructions about feeding schedules and absolute silence. I tried to give her as much as I could, Zara said quietly as they descended. She needed medicine too, but Ming controlled everything. I smuggled some pain relievers when I could. The basement was dimly lit, and the smell of dampness and confinement hit Haniel like a physical blow. His mother was sitting up now, having heard footsteps. When she saw him, her face crumpled. Ayama. The word broke as he rushed to her, dropping to his knees beside the mat. Oh, I'm so sorry, my son. Her voice was hoarse, weak. You came back. He gathered her carefully into his arms, horrified by how fragile she felt. I didn't know, he whispered against her hair. I swear I didn't know. But then his mother said something that no one expected. Something Zara had prayed would never need to come to light. She knew before the cameras did, his mother said, on her trembling finger pointing toward Zara. This child. She knew on the very first night. Haniel looked up slowly. What do you mean? Zara's jaw tightened. She'd hoped to carry this quietly, but Mrs. Jung had always been sharper than her frailty suggested. I mean, the old woman said, gently, that Zara didn't stumble upon me by accident. She heard me. Through the walls. From the very first night Ming locked me down here. The air in the basement shifted. Haniel's eyes cut to Zara. Is that true? A long pause. Yes. You heard her on the first night? Yes. And you didn't call the police? I tried. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I called from the kitchen phone. Anonymous tip. The officer I spoke to said he'd look into it, but Ming intercepted the follow-up. She has connections with the local precinct. Officer Chun. He's her cousin. He buried the call and came to the house personally to warn her. Haniel went very still. After that, Zara continued, Ming pulled me aside. She didn't say it outright, she never does, but the message was clear. If I called again, if I told anyone, she would have me deported. Falsely accused of theft. Blacklisted from every household in the city. She showed me the paperwork she'd already prepared. False charges, all stamped and ready to file. So you stayed silent, Haniel said. His voice wasn't accusing. It was the voice of a man trying to understand. I stayed silent above ground, Zara said. But I came every night. I brought food. And I kept her alive. I couldn't get her out. Ming counted every supply. She would have known. I had to make a choice. Expose everything and risk your mother disappearing before anyone could help, or stay and protect her until you came home. His mother squeezed his hand weakly. She sang to me, Haniel. On the nights I cried and couldn't sleep, this child sat on that cold floor and sang to me until I calmed down. Something cracked open in Haniel's face. He looked at Zara, really looked at her, and saw not just the maid, not just the whistleblower. He saw someone who had made an impossible calculation and lived inside it, alone, for 3 months. Why didn't you tell me any of this upstairs? He asked finally. In front of Ming. Because Officer Chun was sitting in the police car outside your gate, Zara said quietly. The one who came when you called. I saw him through the window. He's the one who buried my tip. If he'd known I was about to expose him, your mother might not have made it out of this basement. Another silence. Longer this time. I need to know something, Haniel said. And I need you to be honest with me. Not brave honest. Just honest. He looked at her steadily. Were you afraid? This whole time? Zara's chin lifted, that same small defiant tilt he'd noticed when she was kneeling in rice. Every single day. A pause. And I'd do it again. The sound of the paramedics arriving filtered down from upstairs. Haniel helped his mother to her feet. But before they moved, he turned back to Zara one more time. "Officer Chun," he said, "you'll tell Detective Park everything, tonight." It wasn't a question. Everything, she agreed. As they brought Mrs. Jung up into the light, Zara caught one last glimpse of the mat on the basement floor. The thin blanket she'd smuggled down on the second night, and in the small photograph of Haniel she'd propped against the wall so his mother would have something familiar to look at. She hadn't put it there to be kind. She'd done it because a woman deserves to feel like someone is coming for her, even when they're not sure anyone is. Upstairs, the police took statements. The paramedics loaded Mrs. Jung onto a stretcher. And when Officer Chun tried to quietly excuse himself from the scene, Detective Park, who had been quietly listening to everything Zara told him, stopped him at the gate. After they left, Zara finished cleaning the kitchen, then made her way to her small room off the servants' quarters. She sat on her narrow bed, and only then did she let herself shake. 3 months of fear. 3 months of sneaking around. Of lying awake, terrified that Ming would check the cameras, that she'd be caught, that Mrs. Jung would die before Haniel returned. Plus the added weight of knowing that her one attempt to get help had been weaponized against her. It was over. She fell asleep still in her work clothes, too exhausted for anything else. The next morning, Zara woke to sunlight streaming through her window and the sound of her phone buzzing. Unknown number. "Hello, Miss Oe. This is Haniel Jung. I apologize for calling so early, but my mother is asking for you. She wants to thank you herself." He paused. And there's someone else here who wants to speak with you too." Detective Park. About Officer Chun. 20 minutes later, Zara was in a taxi heading to Seoul National University Hospital. Haniel had sent a car, but she'd insisted on taking a cab. Old habits of not accepting too much from employers died hard. She found Mrs. Jung in a private room hooked up to IVs and monitors, but her color already looked better. When she saw Zara, her face lit up. "There she is. My angel." "I'm no angel," Zara said, pulling up a chair beside the bed. "Just someone who couldn't stand by." "That's what makes you angelic, child." Mrs. Jung reached for her hand, squeezing weakly. Haniel stood near the window. "The doctors say she'll make a full recovery. Malnutrition, dehydration, some muscle atrophy from lack of movement, but nothing permanent." He looked at Zara steadily. "Officer Chun has been arrested. He's already given up 2 other officers in Ming's pocket. Whatever Ming thought she'd built, it's collapsing." "And Ming herself?" Zara asked. "Charged. Her lawyer is already trying for a plea. But with the footage, your testimony, and Chun's confession, there's not much to bargain with." Mrs. Jung patted Zara's hand. "You didn't just save me, child. You saved everyone she would have hurt next." Later, outside the hospital room, Haniel walked with Zara toward the elevators. "I meant what I said about repaying you," he began. "I'm not sure how exactly. Money seems insufficient. I don't want money for doing the right thing." "Then what do you want?" Zara thought about it. "I'd like to keep working. I need the job. But maybe somewhere else. That house has bad memories now. What if I told you the house is yours if you want it? I could arrange for you to have your own space there. Proper quarters. Proper respect. My mother will need care while she recovers. She trusts you. And frankly," he paused, "so do I. More than I've trusted anyone in a long time." Zara studied him. You don't even know me. I know you spent 3 months making an impossible choice and you made it right every single day. I know you protected my mother even when protecting her put you at risk. I know you didn't run when you could have." A pause. "That's more than I knew about Ming after 2 years together." The arrangement started simply. Zara moved into one of the guest bedrooms. A real bedroom with windows and space and an actual comfortable bed. Her official title was household manager, but it was Zara who Mrs. Jung wanted for the important things. Reading together, taking slow walks through the garden, talking about everything and nothing. "You remind me of myself at your age," Mrs. Jung said one afternoon. They were sitting in the sunroom, warm light pouring through the windows, brave enough to leave everything familiar, strong enough to stand alone. I don't feel very strong most days. Strength isn't about feeling powerful. It's about doing what's necessary, even when you're terrified. Haniel was around more now, having delegated some of his business responsibilities. He worked from home often, and Zara found herself running into him in unexpected moments, like the morning she came downstairs early to find him in the kitchen, attempting to make coffee and failing miserably. "How is this so complicated?" he muttered, glaring at the expensive coffee machine. Zara bit back a smile. "May I?" She moved past him, programmed the machine, and set a cup in place. The rich smell of coffee filled the kitchen. "You're a lifesaver again." He leaned against the counter, watching her. "I'm starting to think that's just your default state. Or maybe you're just particularly disaster-prone." The words were out before she could stop them, and she froze. That was too familiar. But Haniel laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised and genuine. "You might be right about that." The trial happened 2 months later. With the footage, Zara's testimony, and Chun's confession all in evidence, Ming's attorney pushed for a plea. She received 7 years for kidnapping, imprisonment, and corruption. Chun received 4 years for obstruction and misconduct. Mrs. Jung attended the sentencing, sitting between Haniel and Zara. When the judge read the verdicts, she reached over and squeezed Zara's hand. "Justice," she whispered, finally. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, or Haniel made a brief statement about being grateful for the justice system and ready to move forward with his family. "Is it true you're involved with the woman who saved your mother?" one reporter shouted. Haniel looked at Zara, who stood slightly behind him. She shook her head slightly. They'd agreed to keep things private, let them develop naturally. But Haniel had never been good at doing what was expected. "Miss Oe is extremely important to me and my family," he said simply. The reporters exploded with questions, but he was already guiding Zara toward the waiting car. "You didn't have to do that," Zara said once they were safely inside. "Yes, I did. I'm tired of hiding what you mean to me." Mrs. Jung, sitting across from them, smiled knowingly, but said nothing. The weeks after the trial felt like slowly exhaling after holding your breath forever. Security measures relaxed. Mrs. Jung grew stronger each day. And Zara and Haniel, how they figured out what they were to each other. "I love you," he said one evening, in the library while rain drummed against the windows. "Not because of what you did, though that's part of who you are. Because of how you make me want to be better. How you challenge me. How you make me laugh." He took her hand. "I love you, Zara Oe." Tears pricked her eyes. "I love you too, even though you're stubborn and overprotective and genuinely terrible at making coffee." He laughed, pulling her close. "Whatever you want." They sat together in comfortable silence, the future stretching ahead, full of possibilities. Not perfect possibilities. Real life was never perfect. There would be challenges ahead, moments of doubt, struggles neither could predict. But they'd face them together. This found family, forged in crisis, who'd emerged stronger for it. And that, Zara thought, as she looked at her ring catching the morning sun, months later, was more than she'd ever dared to hope for.